We're here for our weekly anchor message. Hope you're doing well. This is our reading that we do at the beginning of the week. It gives us basically our spiritual assignments for the week, or where our soul is drawing our focus. From the wild unknown archetypes, we've got the poet, followed by Anna Mundy, followed by the animal. Underneath the poet, we have Knight of Swords. Underneath Anna Mundy, we have Ten of Pentacles. And underneath the animal, we have Page of Wands. So I'm going to pause here, let you guys hear the audio and you can see the layout, and then we will be right back to go deeper into the discussion. This is week 4 of 7 of the counting of the Omer. And this is a period of challenges designed to awaken the next level of the light of our soul that follows Passover. The dimension of the soul being brought into focus this week is called Netzach. Netzach is associated with creativity, the right brain, inspiration, perseverance, motivation, joy, optimism, indulgence, sensuality, inebriation, and the planet Venus. Last week we were awakening and opening the heart. This week we are setting the heart ablaze. Expect opportunities around practicing the golden rule, treating others the way we wish to be treated, harming none, love, forgiveness, and acceptance. We put down the sword of conflict and seek to heal, rebuild, and establish peace. This week, the soul longs to establish unity and cooperation within the self, with God and with mankind, personally, cosmically, and universally. When we become unified and whole within ourselves and with others, then we can become unified with the Creator, aligning us with our true destiny and greater potential. This week, embrace the poet's willingness and ability and devotion to witnessing, feeling, and expressing the truth that they found within their experience and transformation, which has healed not only themselves, but serves to awaken others and heal others as well. Their experience serves to elevate the world. Let your heart witness and reveal life's beauties and sorrows. Your compassion for the suffering of others will atone for your former unconsciousness and awaken a deeper appreciation for interconnectedness and sacred oneness for all that is. Part of establishing that foundation of inner peace and alignment begins with acceptance of our animal nature. We can explore our human mammal needs while still restricting our base and carnal nature. We need love, connection, touch, nature, soil, air, smells, to be aware of our electric aliveness. This week we love, we forgive, we accept, we persevere. This week we get tuned in, tapped in, turned on. Disco. All right, I wanted to get our blog content out and up front because there were so many pieces of content from my Kabbalah classes and different sources and the secret teachings of Jesus. Everything was pointing to the weekly energy of this week. And so like there's a daily portion for every day of the year. And there's like a weekly portion that the portions come from of Torah. And so the portion of Torah every day corresponds to the energy of that day. So through the Kabbalah Center, like I'll watch the daily Zohar videos, which are like 5 to 7 minute videos of the Zohar commentary on that Torah portion for the day of the week and whatnot. So then there's also, so the one this morning ties into this reading. This reading connects to the Secret Teachings of Jesus portion, which was the portion from the Gospel of Philip entitled, Blessed is the one who's never grieved anyone, or something of that nature. But it was the one from this Saturday about not doing harm to others. And the weekly portion that, so through the Kabbalah Center, they have a few podcasts that you can watch like on YouTube or listen to like on Apple Podcasts, wherever podcasts are. It's called the Weekly Energy Boost. And so I think that they post it every Sunday or Monday, but this is a discussion between two of my Kabbalah teachers, and they talk about the coming week and the weekly energy for the week. And the weekly energy is the energy that we're exposed to, that it's like this wheel that we go through every year. And every day has that assigned Torah reading, because it is the Torah reading that can help you navigate the challenges and reveal the potential of that day. So the weekly energy boost gives you insight into what is the weekly theme that we're going to be dealing with on a day-to-day, according to the Torah. So this reading, a lot of the times our anchor messages totally line up with the weekly energy boost, but I would recommend, as homework or just extra studying, if you're extra interested in like what this week holds, you can watch the weekly energy boost, the one from this week. Watch the Secret Teachings of Jesus video from this week. And there was, I don't know if you have just a free account on Kabbalah.com with your email, if you can watch the Daily Zohar. I want to say it is, because that's how I found the Kabbalah Center in the first place many years ago, is through their Daily Zohar videos. So the one from today, so it will match the date for today if you find their playlist of like Daily Zohar with Etienne Yardeni. That perfectly goes with today. And that message was, so the weekly energy boost was that this week ties in to the idea of abiding by the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. Don't be a jive ass motherfucker. Like, don't give people shit. Don't do bad things to people. Like, don't give evil eye. Don't give evil tongue. Like, be aware of the energy that you're putting out towards others, and make sure that that is the same energy that you would want coming towards you. So that goes along with the Torah portion. The Secret Teachings of Jesus video is like, don't be low key and don't like give people shit again. And then the Torah portion specifically for today was talking about ways, like deep wisdom secrets of ways to sort of start correcting our karma. And what was the first part of the verse? It was like talking about how don't like bemoan your chaos or your affliction, because it's actually correcting your karma and it's purifying your negativity. Like taking the weight off of the scales on the bad side and putting it on the good side, because you're transmuting it. But it also said that another thing that would shroud you in like healing or correcting your affliction or freeing you from your affliction is when you acknowledge someone else, what they're going through. And especially if it's like a righteous person or like a wise person or like a Siddiq, a righteous person, if they're going through suffering or an affliction, to have like compassion for them and to like feel sorrow on their behalf, like feel sorry, not sorry for them in a pitying like way, but like have compassion, have empathy for when people are going through hard things, right? We think, oh, that's such an easy one to remember. But when you're in the moment, sometimes in the heat of the moment, when you're salty, when someone is not like a stranger that you have distance with and no baggage, but like and you're like, you've told me about this affliction 400 times, and it's like we forget what that person's actually feeling and the pain that they're going through when we get up in our head. But so it's like connecting with them and feeling their pain, feeling the pain of others, like sharing the weight, being a witness. Sometimes being like a listener is so healing. So anyway, all of these things are like tying in from weekly energy boost to daily Zohar to like secret teachings of Jesus. The weekly energy oracle forecast that I made Sunday night, like totally sets us up for this part of the week, because it was all about unity and cooperation and harmony. And so I feel like we are learning to like find cooperation on the inside, so that we're not always warring within ourselves or fighting our nature or fighting against our own desires and yearnings and also our like procrastination, right? So we're ending the conflict within, and we're learning how to cooperate with these parts of our personality that we can't get rid of. They're always going to be there, but we have to find a way to work with them and not against them, or have them work with us and not against us, right? So it takes, instead of fighting against yourself and fighting against your situation and fighting against other people around you, it's like practicing acceptance, giving yourself inner rest. Put down the sword and just give it a rest. Be at peace. Like allow yourself the peace. Just stop fighting, at least yourself. Come to an acceptance. That way you can deal with what is in front of you. And it's a way to be radically honest with yourself and your life. Acceptance. You can't be in acceptance if you're not truly seeing and acknowledging and seeing the situation for what it is. So finding peace through coming to acceptance. There's also the big ask of like practicing forgiveness this week and love. And so this is also the one other thing I was trying to figure out, like what was the one other thing I wanted to say? This is the 4th week of the counting of the Omer. And so the Omer is the 7-week period following Passover. And so just a brief description of the holy holidays. What happens is those aren't just commemorating historical events. Those historical events happened on those days specifically because of this opening in a cosmic window of time that is like going back to that whole every day has its own specific energy, and it just repeats around the wheel every year. And so the Torah portion corresponds to every day of the year. And the energy is designed in such a way that theoretically a soul could do their full soul correction for all of their lifetimes in 1 year. Like they have all of those like available challenges and energies available and scenarios, right? So during the holy holidays, there is this particular opening in the cosmos where we are exposed to a particular quality and radiance of the light of the Creator that we're not always exposed to at different times of the year. Depending on the holiday, it might be a different aspect, but it's like the upper levels, the higher, more potent, abstract, intense levels of God. And so when we, do these fasts or rituals, it's like we're fine-tuning our vessel to be able to process and ground and obtain, get lightning in the bottle, right? And keep it for the year. And so there's each time of the year, each holiday has its own unique signature of energy that's for its own ritual purpose for that part of the year, right? But following our exposure to all that light and magnificence and radiance, we have to go through a process of earning that light, or else it will become chaos. It's sort of like taking energy into an energy bank and then grounding it and then redistributing it in lower amounts so that it doesn't burn out the fuses in the house, so that you can plug in the lamp and not bust the light bulb, right? We don't want to power surge. We don't want to trip our breakers. We don't want to like trip our generator, right? So we've got to like redistribute that energy and filter it through and ground it down. So in spiritual and literal terms, what that means is that after we go through these holidays and are exposed to the light, we get all this energy in our energy bank. We usually have like an extended period of time that follows where it might be like 8 days, it might be a few weeks. It depends on each time, it's different. But this time, the Omer is 50 days. It's 7 weeks coming right after Passover, because Passover is like the most powerful, like next to Yom Kippur, it's the most powerful holiday of the year. I think it might be the most powerful day of the year. This is where you get like our life force of the year. This is like the beginning of the year, the new year. So, okay, I've gotten lost in my... so the Omer. Okay, so the Omer is a period where we go through these challenges and we go through each level of the soul for like a week by week by week. And we face some sort of these like patterns and things in our life to be able to overcome the way that we used to handle them and overcome the lower self and the more base carnal self, or the more sleep self, the negative self, the weaker self. We overcome our former self. We let that part die away and we transcend that and we become more, right, through these times. And so this is how we earn the light. We embody the energy and the up level in that way, through that process. So there's a process. So now we're in week 4 of the Omer, and week 4 is associated with the dimension of the soul that comes after Tiferet, the heart center. So last week we were awakening the heart, stirring it awake and opening it up. And now this week, Netzach is the dimension that is related to, like, think of all the Greek myths and Roman, like, feasts and orgies, Dionysic inebriation, but also think of, like, someone getting, like, that gospel inebriated where they're doing the gospel run. That's called a Pentecostal inebriation. Like these states of like euphoric inebriation, right? Like partying, like celebrating, like think about the dancing muses and, symphony, the muses, being inspired. Beauty, think of themes like Venus related. Venus is associated with this dimension of the soul. So it's the part of us that becomes like turned on and inspired and excited. And it's like the sensual nature that can appreciate beauty and love and romance and how we relate to others, right? How we correct our own soul comes through the like video game of life of relating to others. So this is how we change our own character from weaker character to stronger character, by learning how to more lovingly and authentically and with unity, by building unity relating to others, right? Instead of the division, instead of fighting, instead of like judgment and ugliness and conflict. It's like, how do we accept one another? How can we become unified? And so the more that we become unified within ourselves, the less we have like this inner conflict between, and we can like align our heart, mind, soul, body, strength, our actions. Then the more aligned we are on the inside, the more aligned we can be and harmonious we can be with others as we interact with others. And as we become more healed within ourselves, we can heal our relationships with other people. And like just at large, like not just the closest relationships you have, but like everything, right? Comings and goings, work, family, friends, like romantic partner, everybody. So we heal our relationships with each other, building that kind of unity. And then when there's no conflict left and we are unified within and whole within ourselves, and then from there, we can start to work on our wholeness and unity with one another. And then once we get there, if we can establish that, just these two like little things, then we can become unified with the Creator, right? Because in order to unify with the Creator, we have to share affinity with the light of the Creator, right? With vibrational resonance, we have to, like attracts like vibrationally. You want things that are the same wavelength that can resonate. If they aren't the same wavelength, if they're not vibing the same, they're going to be dissonant, right? So in order to draw close to the Creator or cleave to the Creator and be in that divine favor and flow and protection and provision, it's like we have to emulate the Creator. We have to become more like the Creator so that we can draw close. Now, when we break affinity with the light of the Creator and we become reactive, or we become cold or callous or selfish or anything that's not the Creator, reactive, fearful, overly excited, like, not in our self-possession, self-control, and sovereignty. Like when we slip out of that, we break affinity with the light of the Creator. And so when we do that, it's like we cut ourselves off from our blessings, which sounds so scary. But the grace is that like all it takes is a shift of our consciousness to get right back in and reconnect and be right back there. So as soon as we can be aware of it and practice that level of awareness and consciousness, then we can choose to realign, recalibrate, recalculating, right? Okay, so the poet here showing up, and I think that this is where we're going to be at this week. What is the poet? The poet is the person, the archetypal group of people who are willing to go into all the feelings. They're willing to really just immerse themselves in life and suck the bone marrow out of it and feel the depths of the sorrows and feel the highs of the highs and look at all the little mundane things that people don't notice. There's a price to pay for that though, right? You're hyper aware, you feel it all, and you are such a witness of humanity and of your own life, and you're honest with your own life and own heart, but you're an honest witness of other people and humanity, and you witness all of this. And so the poet is like filtering everything through all the time and feeling it all so deeply and so honestly and so in such raw form, so that what they can do is then turn around and describe and tell the story of all that they've seen and all that they've witnessed and all that they've experienced and all that they've felt. And it's like they take everything that's personal to them, that's happened to them, they take everything that they've witnessed about life and about the world, and they mix it all together. And when they say what they feel so poignantly, what happens is that it triggers this heart opening and processing and healing within all of us. When we hear a poem that really resonates, or a poet speak about something with eloquence and authenticity and real genuine sincerity, it like strikes a chord and it really opens you up, and it bypasses all of your BS and your lies and your defense mechanisms, and it gets right to the heart of you, deep in your soul, and it causes you to reflect and ask yourself things. And it's something that happens where when a poet, the more personal they are, the more universally relatable that poem becomes, and the more personal it feels to other people, oddly enough. But when the poet tries to take a universal approach and make it universal for everyone, it becomes less personal. It's like it becomes personal for no one, and no one relates, and it's cold and it's not alive, right? So the poet actually has to expose themselves and be very vulnerable and allow for the illusion of intimacy, right? Because they are displaying a part of their soul and their spirit that makes the audience feel naked, seen. They feel like they've established a level of intimacy with the writer, right? Because the writer has told something deep about themselves and true, even though like they've never met the reader, right? Have you ever sat down and like, on a good day, it's like raining, you got a good hot drink, it's like tea or coffee, and you've got a book of poetry and you're like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna read poetry. And it just feels like this writer so deeply and so well when they're really personal and raw, right? And so we have here the poet as an archetype, as like where we're going to be finding ourselves in the context of this week. We're going to be, because what have we had the last couple of weeks? We've had themes about seeing the beauty of life and allowing ourselves to let go of the negativity, that the thorns that ruin that beauty for us, and just letting go of the sour notes and keeping the appreciation, right? So the poet with the Knight of Swords, like she feels that the conviction inside, and she is wanting to speak from the heart and speak what she believes in order to basically kind of like be an influencer, start a movement. Think about all of the civil rights activists over the decades that were poets, that were celebrated and named laureates and were pivotal in civil rights movements because of their ability to strike a chord in the hearts of everyone that heard their words. They could craft the words so well to get such an emotional response. And what do you do when you want to compel someone to understand, to be open, to awaken them, to understand something at a different level? You have, like, this is what advertisers know this, filmmakers know this, like artists know this, particularly if you are constructing like a film or like a multi-layered story medium. You know that you have to captivate someone's emotions to get them invested in the story or in whatever it is that you have. It's like you have to appeal to the emotions in order to really get someone, is it malleable? Like I'm thinking about, so this motion is me warming up and loosening up the clay that when I was in college, I took a clay class. At first the clay is tough and hard. So you have to work it a little bit. You got to get, some moisture and warmth in that clay and massage it and get it loose, and get it opened up and malleable, able to work with it, move it, shape it, sculpt it, right? So this is like a compelling, a position that we find ourselves in and a need, but also maybe we're particularly talented at witnessing life and then being able to articulate what we witness in a very personal way that ends up helping other people see things in a different perspective. Positive influencing. And so I love this. Anna Mundy is with the Ten of Pentacles. The Ten of Pentacles, you've got this man here. He's thinking about the legacy that he's leaving, right? So it's like our gift of being able to comment on the bigger picture, see the bigger picture, maybe even, speak to the bigger picture, right? It's like our platforms now that we have, the reach that we have, the community that we have around us, our legacy, the way that we express our truth and our feelings and our soul and what we witness back, and the way that we can listen to another person and make them feel understood and felt, right? Make them feel that you feel what they're feeling with them in solidarity. Like it's very healing many times. So that we're thinking like this is really our legacy. Annamundi is about accepting all and not fighting life and not rejecting life, but just being at peace with it and accepting that everything is interconnected, everything is one on some level, and God is within everything that we see in omnipresence. And so there is an interconnectedness between us all. We all come from the seed soul of Adam. There's an original soul that we all sprung from. So we are all connected in that way. We are all of our spirits are pieces of the light of the Creator. So we're all connected that way. We have our individual personalities, but we all share a link to this unified consciousness. And so when we start understanding that there is a rhyme and a reason to the order of our lives, the things that we are experiencing, the people that have come through and come and gone, it's like we can accept our experiences and accept our current wherever we're at in this moment, realizing that it is the stage that is necessary to prepare us to go to the next step. And so while we're here right now, we're taking into account, an inventory or reflection. Okay, what is my legacy that I'm leaving? What am I working towards in this life, both materially but spiritually? Like, what spiritual inheritance am I putting away for myself in the hereafter? Because we have to do our work during the day. Night is coming when we won't be working. And Jesus said that, pointing out that you can only do the spiritual work when you're in this body. This is the game. This is the field. You can't score points in the parking lot, right? On the way home. So at nighttime in the parking lot after the game, you can't score points there. You might be playing the game, but it doesn't count for anything. It's in the arena. We are in the arena now, here, during the waking, living life. We might have other incarnations. We might not. What if this was the last one you get, right? You never know. So we have to do our work, the spiritual transformation, the awakening of our soul and our consciousness, and really getting the most out of it. When you're more awakened and more conscious, it's like you appreciate life so much more. And you notice things that you wouldn't have noticed before. And you take pleasure in simplicity. And you accept more and fight against less. Right? Just resisting in that way that's like fighting reality, fighting things that you can't change. That just exhausts you. It drains you. It drains your power, your positivity, your excitement, your joy, all of your energy. Just drains you. So accepting is the first step towards evolving, right? Healing, changing, transforming. But we can't treat something that we're not willing to look at, that we're trying to avoid. You can't operate on a body if you're not willing to look at the guts, right? So, which brings us to the animal and the Page of Wands. So whilst we are awakening this higher part of our consciousness, we don't want to get so precious and self-righteous that we are up on a pedestal and we're like, oh, I'm a divine being, I'm a co-creator, I'm like God, but then become totally detached from the animal, mammal human self either. The compassionate self, the grounded self, the salt of the earth self, the self that's in the struggle, the underdog self, right? The reason why it's so amazing for all of the spiritual world that is not incarnate right now, all the souls that are human that aren't here, they're like, oh, I wish I was there. Because this is where the challenge is. This is where we are so restricted and so limited that we have to evolve here where the pressure is, where the limitation is, because this is where the real challenge is. This is where we come up against roadblocks and friction and resistance. It's not the same once we're out of the material world. There's not the same resistance. And so we need the resistance to be able to change and to overcome and to transform that negativity and transcend it and transmute it. And so it takes being here in this restricted situation You know, it's like when an athlete is doing something and all the odds are against them and they beat all the odds. It's like, whoa, that was so awesome. And then they like break a record or set some precedent. And it's like, it's because they were the underdog, because all the odds were against them, that it makes it all that the more greater. Same for us, same for our spiritual evolution. We have to come here and be limited, or else it doesn't, like, we can't evolve in the afterlife. This is where the playing field is, right? So we can't forget or deny or get all uppity and pretend like we're not still an animal and a mammal and a human being with needs of getting just basic fresh air, like feeling, touching, smelling, tasting food, water, sunlight, putting our feet on the ground, like snuggling, touching anything, tactile things, people, other people, right? Look at like lions lying around in a cuddle puddle, right? We are human beings. We are animals. We are flesh. We need connection. We need emotional support from others. We need certain things. We have certain desires. We have certain instincts, right? But the thing is that we can't completely fall into the lower part of those carnal based instincts and act out of reactiveness and selfishness, right? We have to be able to embrace those parts of ourselves and know how to do them in a higher way and not just in a haphazard, anything goes, just take what you want and forget about the consequences, like living animalistically, selfishly, dog eat dog, like in lustful and fearfulness and, whatever it takes to survive, like that's low vibration, right? But not denying our human needs for like freedom, excitement, feeling like, sex and food and comfort and shelter and all of those things that our animal, like mortal, physical, mammal body needs and wants. That's okay. We just can't let that control our every drive. We have to be able to transcend that and restrict it and be able to like have self-control there. But with that restriction and self-control actually elevates us as well. So part of that self-control also this week might be choosing to create peace where there was division, forgive, move forward, accept a situation, it might be practicing that self-control to be honest with the situation, to look at things realistically and honestly, and then assess them from there and start with acceptance and move on. But another aspect of the Netzach dimension that is related to all the Venus themes is victory, perseverance, being motivated, being inspired, feeling optimistic, feeling like you can win, and being like actually winning. And I think that the major arcana card that's one of the ones that is associated with this dimension is the Chariot card, right? So momentum, drive, perseverance. It's like success, but through your, like, because you made an effort, not just dumb luck, but like because you consistently had discipline, restriction, balance, you made an effort, you kept showing up, it's through willpower, drive, and perseverance and consistency that equals this victory that is coming. So interesting week ahead. We'll see how it all shakes out. I think I will do a part 2 on this week's Secret Teachings of Jesus portion. If I can fit an extra video in at some point in the week, I will. If not, I'll just talk about it again this Saturday night. Peace.